Good morning to our lecturer, Dr. Rabati, and today my group will be presenting on the short story entitled He Who Fell from Grace by Sheikh Husna Azhari. With me today, I have three of my friends, Theresa Eng, NURLIN Shahirah, me myself, ASHVINI JAYABALAN, and Puteri Anak Perempuan Somchit. So before we look into the story, let's discuss about the biodata of the author. The name of the author is Sheikh Husna Azhari, who was born in 1955. She is 67 years old this year, and her first education is at the Tunku Prussia College, followed by her degree and PhD at Brunel University London in 1970 and 1985. She has, along her career, she has produced around five works, which, as you can see on the slide, the Kelantan Tales, the Melo in Perspective, the Rambutan Orchard, Puisi Ambo, and the last one, an English Sojourn. So today we are going to present the four elements of this story. The first one is the synopsis. The second one is the characters and settings. The third one is plot and structure. And the last one is the theme, issues, and the relevance to the Malaysian reality. So I will be presenting the synopsis and a bit of the characters in the story. So what is this story about? It is a story about Adnan, an inspiring young politician who ends up being hated by the villagers after his betrayal towards the members of constituency in his home state. He tries his best to win back the villagers' favor who have clearly lost trust in him. And the next one are the characters. So the main character in this story is Adnan, who is a very educated young man, and he's also a very active politician in his village. He is also the top wakil for his political party, and he always seek for advice from his assistants. Who is he? Who is his assistant? Is Nickman. So he is Adnan's assistant in this story, and he is also his advisor in political matters. And the last one is he loved his red proton saga. Alright, the third character in this story is Juso or Wak Lo. He is an ally to Adnan and Nikman, who is a reliable person who can complete any errands given to him. By that, he is known as a very good person in doing his job. And the fourth character in this story is the villagers themselves. So they are the supporters of Adnan in the beginning. However, something happened which made them to dislike Adnan after the incident where he betrayed the state party chief. And now I'm going to hand over to my friend Teresa.
Sorry. Hello, my name is Theresa, and I will be presenting on the last two characters of the story and the settings. So, for the last two characters, Pokmat, he is the owner of the coffee shop in the village. He witnessed all of the villagers' political rants at his coffee shop, and even the humiliating incident of Adnan at the coffee shop where he offered to pay for everyone's drinks, but the people uh, declined his offer by insinuating that he may have earned that money through dirty deeds. And after that incident, Pokmat gave back the 50 ringgit change to Adnan after the incident before Adnan left back to his home. And the last character that we would like to highlight is the Tok Penghulu. Now, the Tok Penghulu, we would say, is the only one who is still very kind and still helping Adnan despite the whole rumors and issue pertaining to his betrayal. He even helped organize the drama for Adnan in the village and even prepared all the nasi bungkus for the villagers that attended. But alas, when the ceramah was supposed to be held, none of the villagers came, and after waiting for hours until around 11 p.m., Adnan left, and the villagers finally came out of their hiding spots and took the nasi bungkus. So Tok Penghulu actually scolded them for being for doing so. Now I will present about the settings. So the first one is Adnan's mansion. Here, many I would say many moments took place here. Firstly, is when Juso's character was introduced. How people were a bit uncomfortable with how he entered the mansion freely, as if he lives there. Um, because it is deemed disrespectful amongst the other villagers. And this is also where Adnan felt restless and humiliated after the same incident at the coffee shop. And this is also where Adnan discusses his plans with Nikman to win back the favors of the villagers. And here is also where the story ended, when Adnan thought someone has given him a surah, but it's actually buffalo dung. And the second setting will be the village market. This is where Nikman was confronted by the villagers about him working with Adnan while he was shopping for vegetables, cucumbers specifically, for his wife. They confronted him about working with Adnan, and in a sense that they threatened him to never join and have tea with them ever again. And if he wants to drink tea, he may do so only with Adnan. And this is where Nikman, after being threatened, he ran away to his car. But when he saw his car, it was vandalized by buffalo dung. The next one is Nikman's house. Here is where after he was confronted at the village market, he went back home and started agonizing over the loss of his beloved car, because he after some decision making, he decides to stop working with Adnan. But by doing so, he will have to return back the Proton Saga. And this is also where he was scolded by his wife for not bringing back the cucumbers for her to cook lunch. The next place would be Popmat's coffee shop. This is where the men in the villages go to have their coffee and teas and the bakery rolls. And here is where, as I have mentioned before, the incident where Adnan was humiliated by the villagers' passive insult. And lastly would be Tok Penghulu's house, as I mentioned as well, where Adnan gave a speech to the villagers at the beginning of the story, and also where he wished to hold the ceramah, but alas, the villagers came at 11 p.m. after he had left, only to just take the nasi bungkus. And that is all from me. Now I will pass the floor to my friend Puteri.
So I will explain the plot of the story. Okay, so the story begins with an introduction about the main character, which is Adnan, who is a young man who is politically active in his village. And he is an inspiring politician that represents his party at his village and occasionally gives ceramah to fellow villagers to convince them that their party is better than the opposition's. And during the General Assembly, Adnan gave a speech in favor to the leadership, but later was asked by the state party chief if he wants to join them in their plan to go live or die bid, which means they want the state party chief basically ask Adnan to betray the leadership and join him. However, Adnan chooses to save himself and continue to serve the leadership because he believes that the leadership is the savior of the ummah. After the incident of betrayal happens, Adnan was hesitant to return to his kampong because he was afraid that the villagers might physically hurt him in a way. Next. However, Nikman, who is Adnan's assistant, persuaded Adnan to return home, or else Adnan will be labeled as a yellow, which means a coward. And after persuaded by Nikman, Adnan decided to quietly fly home and hide under Nikman's backseat until he arrived at his mansion. And upon his return to the village, there were rumors circulating about his integrity or his fallen image. And Adnan, who was curious about the rumors, decided to go to the coffee shop to find out more about the rumors. However, he was humiliated by the villagers, so he decided to leave the coffee shop. And then words of his humiliation start to spread among the villagers, even worse after that incident. Nikman, who was shopping for cucumbers when a villager threatened him not to join them for iced tea anymore, including Adnan. And Nikman, who was scared by the threat, ran to his car and he discovered that his car, his favorite red Proton Saga, was covered in buffalo dung. Nikman returned home distraught that his car was ruined, and he was also scolded by his wife for not buying cucumber for her to cook. After that, Nikman went to Adnan's house to tell him that he wants to quit the party and return the Proton Saga. And before Nikman decided to quit, actually, Adnan was discussing with him to hold another ceramah to win back the villagers' trust and support. However, after Nikman told Adnan that he wants to quit the party, Adnan went to Tok Penghulu instead and asked for Tok Penghulu's help to organize a ceramah around 9 p.m. at Tok Penghulu's house. However, nobody showed up until 11 p.m. after Adnan left Tok Penghulu's house. But they appeared just to take the free nasi bungkus that was provided by Tok Penghulu. And then after the incident, Adnan came to a dead end, so he decided to try and get the chief minister to be his ally, but he was dismissed instead. However, while he was on the call with the chief minister, Adnan's wife called him and told him that someone gave him a gift. And then Adnan, who was excited to know what the gift was, opened it and he thought it was surah, which is his favorite food. However, once he opened the wrap, it turns out to be buffalo dung. And that is all for the plot of story. Now I will leave the structure of the story to NURLIN.
Now I'm going to present about the plot, structure, themes, issue, and the short story relevant to Malaysian reality. The plot structure starts with an exposition where Adnan, a young politician, actively commits to his party as he wants to prove that he can do better than the opposition. Next, the rising action shows that Adnan refuses to join the state party chief in their plan to go live or die bid. Next, the climax then illustrates Adnan, who was criticized for not supporting the state party chief's idea, left to his home state with his assistant. He was afraid that the villagers would not accept him into the village. Then, the following action shows that Adnan was not welcome in his village. In fact, he was scorned badly by the villagers. They showed protest by not attending his ceramah and gifted him buffalo dung. However, we found that there is no resolution in this short story as it was left up to the reader's imagination. Next, based on the short story, we discovered that there are two main themes and two main issues presented. The themes that we found are loyalty and power hungry. For the first theme, which is loyalty, it is shown that the villagers immediately gave Adnan the cold shoulder once news of him staying within the leadership rather than joining the state party chief when asked. Meanwhile, the second theme is power hungry, where Adnan had chosen to save himself for the sake of maintaining his party supporters by staying with the leadership. Besides that, the further issue presented in the short story, we found that Adnan was ostracized by his people. This can be seen through the many incidents that occurred upon his return to the village. Many of the villagers showed obvious hatred towards him without saying it directly to his face. The second issue presented is the villagers' hatred or distrust toward Adnan, where the villagers were very explicit in showing their distrust toward Adnan, but with hidden messages in the way they say it. For example, they rejected his offer to pay for their drinks at the coffee shop and even gifted him buffalo dung. Next, to better relate the short story, He Who Fell from Grace to Malaysian reality, we first found that Malaysians have great respect for those with higher education, as all the locals looked up to Adnan as the dashing and educated young man who can represent their people and bring improvement to their living situation. Secondly, Malaysians are not confrontational people, where it was illustrated that the villagers did not say explicitly that they disliked Adnan for his disloyalty, but was shown in a passive aggressive way. They rejected his offer to pay for their drinks by saying, "For Ambo, I can pay for myself and do not wish to take the Tok Wakil's money." This shows how they despise him by kindly rejecting his offer. Next, Malaysians are easily swayed by political power, where the villagers first believed in Adnan when he made the promises to the villagers in the beginning. But however, Adnan stayed with the leadership because he wanted to be on the winning side, which caused the situation to become worse. Iqman even left the party because Adnan was losing face with the villagers and his Proton saga was vandalized. Finally, Malaysians love to gossip, as it is a common occurrence for many around the world, but it is deeply highlighted how the villagers' culture is surrounded by this practice. The villagers gossip about Adnan's return, and because of this, had caused a lot of events to occur, such as the vandalizing of Nikman's car, the surah gifted at the end of the story, and the villagers' refusal to attend the ceramah. In conclusion, we found that the story contains multiple reflections of Malaysian society back then and still continues to be relevant now. The political power of our leaders needs the trust of their people in order to succeed and maintain their image. Adnan, however, lost his trust as he betrayed the state party chief who actually helped him gain his position as a top wakil of the village. It is shown that the action and treatment of the villagers towards Adnan when he returned turned sour in comparison to the earlier part of the story. All of us agree that the attitudes of the villager can be seen as petty, but it is understandable for the era that this story took place. This is because Adnan's offer to pay is a form. For example, the refusal of Adnan's offer to pay is a form of harsh rejection, since most Malaysians are relatively respectful and kind. However, the way the villagers rejected it by insinuating that he got the money through bribery caused such humiliation towards Adnan. Overall, this story has strong elements of how dirty politics can get, even in our own harmonious country. So to take away from this, we must always be honest and do good work for not only ourselves, but for the sake of the people and the country. That's all from us. Thank you.